Hi, people. In 2 Timothy chapter 1, we're coming to a particularly low point in the life of the Apostle Paul. He was in prison. He'd been kind of abandoned there, mistreated, beaten. He was hungry, and he was feeling rather down. But probably the greatest factor that caused him to feel down is something I'm pretty sure every one of us can identify with. This is what he writes to Timothy, that even though the circumstances are bad and there's all those horrible things that have happened to me, Timothy, I want you to know that everyone in the province of Asia has deserted me, including Phygellus and Hermogenes. He even names them. Those were the two people that he was probably banking on. Those were the two people who he was probably praying that they would come to his rescue, or they'd come to give him company, or at least just come and visit him in prison. They were the ones he'd put his hope in, that they'd be able to get him out of prison and to be able to do what he needed to do in order to proclaim the gospel. Maybe they were the ones that he thought he could pass the parchments to, that he could send them out, knowing that he wasn't going to get out of prison again. Whatever it was, they were not there for him. They left him. Now, if there's one thing that is more tragic than probably anything else, and I see this dilemma in many people's lives, whether it be people in old age homes whose kids don't visit them very often, whether it be people at work who feel abandoned. They might be in a crowd, but they feel very much alone. And I think of the people around the world who, by maybe force of circumstances, could identify with the Apostle Paul for whatever reason. I feel abandoned. Oh man, I wish somebody would just pick up the phone and phone me. I just wish, and I sit by the phone and I wait for my kids to phone me, or somebody from the church to visit me. I just want to see another human body that loves me and wants to be a part of my life. Well, it's a graphic description of, I guess, many people's lives, especially as one enters into the age of senior citizen and in the age of sick and maybe in a wheelchair. I don't know what that is, but the system around you is not conducive to you feeling pretty good. Now, the reason for that is that everybody needs somebody. Everybody needs somebody to encourage them. Everybody needs somebody just to cheer them on and say, well done, keep going, we're behind you. But sadly, there's not often, or not always, people who will do that. And I've got to tell you, in the ministry, this is true too. Helene and I are really blessed. We have a wonderful group of people around us who support and cheer us on. But my heart goes out to those missionaries who sit in a field somewhere, on a foreign mission station, just crying out for some kind of contact from another human being. But the answer to this dilemma is very simple. As much as you may feel lonely, the key is to remember that you are never alone. There is a God who promises that he will never leave you. And your mind can turn to him at any time of day or night and say, even though I don't have any human flesh here to visit me, God, I have the God of the universe, the creator of all things, the El Shaddai, the Jehovah Jireh. He is with me. And when you start to contemplate the wonder of who is with you, then those who are not with you sort of fade into maybe sort of insignificance in a way, because when you have God with you, you don't need anybody else. Just think of that hero, Job. He had 3 supposed friends who all talked a lot of rubbish to him and all blamed him and all led him down the garden path with some interesting theology. He had a wife who was there but not there. He had children who had died. He didn't have many people to care for him. And yet at the end of the day, he never got bitter. He never got twisted. He never started thinking, well, I'm not going to have much to do with them anymore. They don't really care for me. They haven't been to visit me. He never did that. He made every effort to just give God glory for who God was. Now, I do suggest that there might be some practical things that you can do when you feel lonely. Remembering that you're not alone, maybe you could join a church group. Maybe you could invite some people around to your house. Maybe you could have tea. Maybe you could just go and sit on a park bench and say, God, send somebody for me to talk to. Maybe you could just walk across the room to somebody else who feels the same way as you. You see, loneliness is very often the dilemma of the lonely. There are other people out there who feel just like you. You need to go and find one of them. When Elijah felt lonely, God said, get off your pity party and go and find Elisha. So he did. He went and found Elisha, and he was never lonely again. He had a companion, but he had to do the work. He had to get up and go out there and find somebody, invite somebody, talk to somebody. You know, even you're saying, well, I can't do that, and I'm not very good at that. People, you better get good at that, or else your dilemma is not going to get any better than it already is. So I encourage you today. There are other people who are lonely. Maybe you could find a friend in that one. There are churches that would welcome you to come in. Volunteering. Go down to the feeding station and help feed kids. Go to the men's group. Go to the Bible study. Go to the ladies group. Find other people who need help as well. I remember a while back I had a lady come and see me. It was, if it weren't so serious, it would be comical. But she came to see me on the issue of depression. And she told me the saddest story about the fact that she was all alone. Anyway, on her second visit to me, as I began to sort of try and work out in my mind everything that was going on in hers, she arrived at the church, and because I'm a bit forgetful, I'd forgotten I had an appointment with her. So I said this at him, and we bumped into each other, and she said, "You've forgotten, hey? You've forgotten that I was going to come and see you. How insignificant am I that you have even forgotten that I'm coming to visit you?" So I apologized profusely, and I said, "But I got an idea. I'm actually going out of the hospital right now. I've got to go visit someone in the hospital. Do you want to come with me?" And so this lady, who was an elderly kind of a lady, said, "Well, yeah, I suppose so. We can talk on the way." So she got in the car. I drove her down to the hospital, and I invited her to come with me as I did my little ward rounds. I got to tell you, she looked at me and she watched and she said, "Is this how you do it?" I said, "Yep. All you got to go and do is talk to somebody. Say, 'Hi, what's your name? Where do you come from? Why are you here? How long have you been here?' Ask some questions and let them just reply. Don't talk about yourself, talk about them." By the end of that afternoon, this woman didn't want to leave. She had made 10 friends in that ward, each of them waiting for her to come back again. And on the way home, I said, "So tell me about your depression." And it was almost like she said, "What depression?" I think I found that way to get out and to feel valued and to feel like I have something to offer. Thank you for the lesson. I don't know, people. Maybe you could buy into that yourself in some way. I hope that makes sense. See you tomorrow.